Good evening to everyone. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting for October 6th. We're going to start first with the review and approve of the agenda. If everyone would look at that and see if you have any changes you want to make. And if not, if someone would make a move to approve the October 6th, 2014 agenda as presented. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Allison. So first was Jen, second by Allison. All those in favor, please raise your hands and signify by yes. Everybody present is saying yes. Let's look now at the next item, to approve the previous Board of Ed minutes for September 22nd, 2014. Are there any changes to those minutes? If there are no changes to the minutes, is there someone who would like to move to approve the minutes for the meeting of September 22nd, 2014? Sangeeta, thank you. And to second, thank you, Mr. Goodman. Jean, all those in favor, please raise your hands. And that's unanimous with all those that are present. Our next item for the night is comments from the public. To ensure the public's right to be heard, the board has set aside time during the meeting for public comment. 2 minutes are allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 15 minutes to each subject. Is there anyone who would like to speak? There being no one indicating that they're going to speak, we will then move into reports and recognition. The facilities rates update. Dr. Lutzi?
Sure. Hi, good evening. I wanted to put this on here under reports and recognition, just so we could talk briefly about the facilities rental rates. As you recall, we had a spirited conversation a few meetings ago, and since that conversation at the school level, we've had some questions about new rates, old rates, when might the new rates begin, and things like that. So just to sort of give a quick status update on where we are. The schools currently are in the process of implementing a new software system for facility rental. We found that the system we have has been a little bit difficult to manage, and we're in the process of putting a new system in. That will probably take the better part of the spring and go through probably July 1st in order to be fully implemented across the district. At the same time, we're doing some research around the rates and beginning to look at implications and impact of the various rates in order to help the board to make the best decision possible around this. So as a result of those things happening, what we've thought about and what I'd like to discuss briefly with the board is maintaining the current rates that we've had through the years until June 30th, and then beginning the new rates July 1 in the new fiscal year, whatever they're going to be ultimately. This works for, again, the new fiscal year, starting with that, but it's helpful also for the groups that use our facilities, because now they're booking out into the spring, and they are trying to figure out what they should be charging their participants and the students and families, things that will be using them. So in order to facilitate that for them, we were thinking that the best approach would be to be consistent up through the end of this fiscal year, and then July 1, whatever the new rates may be when we have that process concluded, we would begin them then.
Does anyone have any questions or comments or pro-con?
Pro.
All right, Gina said his idea pro. Anyone else have anything to add to pro?
I think it's a good way for planning purposes to have that go into the new fiscal year. So,
Thank you. Okay.
I agree with the approach. People bid out their services based upon our old rate schedule, so it makes sense to stick with that through the year.
And we're seeming to be in agreement, and you're not looking for a vote, for
No,
just a
it's
general sense of the meeting, a sense of the group. And I see lots of heads nodding, so I'd say that's a positive feeling for doing that.
We'll stay the course.
Okay, thank you for suggesting it.
Thank you.
Action items. We have 2 action items tonight. The first one is the Board of Ed Subcommittee Educational Resources. As you know, we worked on the group has worked on the charter for that. The Subcommittee for the Educational Resources has worked on the charter, and we have first and moved and seconded by Mrs. Rashin and Mrs. West respectively on September 22nd, 2014. It was an amended, it was approved to the amendment that was done that night. And tonight, we need to look at that and make sure that we are pleased with the way it's set up for the committee in order to form and to be able to continue and to do business, so to speak, to have meetings. Does anyone have any concerns, recent concerns about the committee or the way it was amended? Okay, and we had,
I guess, Hazel, just
yes.
a quick question. We had some discussion, I'm not sure what we concluded about the committee scope and composition, the number of members. There was a concern voiced that if our charters read that a committee must be comprised of at least 3 members, that as we go through election cycles, we may find ourselves in a situation where we are under 3, and if so, would that require us to suspend the committee work? So I just want to circle back to that question before we approve these charters.
All right, that's a good question. I think that probably we can, going from past experience, Board of Ed members have been more than generous with their time and trying to help out on committees, but I think that's a legitimate question to ask.
But so the resources has 3, and then the strategic planning has 2.
Yes,
That's how it's written.
Right.
Yes.
We switched it from that discussion
Right.
when we
Right.
amended to do the 2, just so that there was that concern, although we would like to have more than, 2, up to
Yes.
4, but just so that we don't have a situation where people are
Right.
leaving or coming or caught in a bind.
to have the flexibility of, is that what you're thinking? Deanna?
I don't have a problem with 2 or 3, but I think this committee in general has never had a problem being fully, it's usually oversubscribed, and so I think, I can't ever envision this committee having a dearth of volunteers. So I would not have any problem keeping it at 3, because I cannot ever imagine having a problem.
Then we would maybe be doing different things for different committees. Allison?
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. I agree with you. I don't think there'll ever be a shortage on this subject, but I think we need to be consistent probably with all of our, I would like to see us be consistent. I don't see any harm in saying at least 2, because then we're saying at least 2, but hopefully we'll have 3, sometimes 4 maybe. But I think we're potentially limiting ourselves by saying at least 3, because we may find ourselves in situations, depending upon what the type of the committee is, we may find ourselves with 2, like we currently do now with one of our committees. Why not build the flexibility? And I guess I just don't see the harm in leaving it at least 2.
All right. Seems like is there a proposal of someone who wants to change the wording of it, and so we can at least as a group decide whether or not we're going to go this way? So maybe a motion about this. Deanna?
Well, I guess we could just say we'd like to amend the composition of the committee to read that the committee will be comprised of at least 2 Board of Education members designated by it. So just change the number 3 to 2 and use the exact same language that exists in the scope and composition section of the charter.
Why don't we, if there is a second to that, first of all, is there a second to that? Second on Sherry? And why don't we, on this, we'll vote first about this, and then we'll vote on the actual charter itself, okay? All those that are in favor of the amendment as developed by Deanna, please signify by raising your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. All those opposed to changing it the way Deanna said it? No, and 2 abstentions.
I just realized that we already have at least 3 members, and it's only a 1-year committee, so I'm kind of neutral, since this is not, we're not establishing this committee it's a special committee for 1 year, we're not establishing it for 3 years, and we already have 3 members, so either way, 2, if people want to go to 2, that's fine with me.
Okay, so we have all agreed that we're going to have that amendment, and then let's now move to going back to the original proposal, and as it was read with the amended part, making that amendment part of it. Is there any more discussion, first of all, before we go on to vote? Allison?
I'm just looking at this now, just a minor formatting, but we just need to change the formatting a little bit on 10 and 11. spacing issue, but very, very minor, just hadn't noticed that earlier.
So it's all uniform, is that the idea?
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
it's just a minor
Yes.
formatting, yeah, very minor
Okay.
formatting for 10 and 11.
Okay. That's a formatting change, a change on the, we'll now do, that's a motion from Allison. Is it seconded that we make the change?
Oh, I don't think we need to make a motion on it.
Just to make sure, I want to make sure we cover all the, there's a motion, a second to that clerical change? Thank you, Sangeeta. All those in favor to the change, please raise your hands. And it's unanimous. We're going to make the change. And now we'll look at the final. Are we ready now to actually vote on the resources charter? We have that already. That's been first and seconded. And then in the discussion, we've made 2 changes. Is everyone ready to vote? Any more discussion? I don't see any hands going up. All right. All those in favor of the charter, the way it stands now with those amendments, please signify by raising your hands, and it's unanimous with everyone. So that means it passes. And we'll look at the Board of Ed Subcommittee Strategic Planning as amended. And it was moved to approve the amended Board of Education Subcommittee Charter for Strategic Planning as first moved, and seconded by Ms. Badula and Ms. West, respectively, on September 22nd, 2014. So it has been already moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on any changes or anything? Yes, Sangeeta?
There was, when it was amended, there's one amendment that wasn't included that Penny reminded me of, just to, again, for consistency basis, for the scope and composition, where it said how the board members are designated. So just to be consistent with all of our committees, that to change it from instead of to designated by the board chair in accordance with Article 3, Section 5, parentheses 1 of the BOE bylaws. So it's consistent with the other committee charter we just approved.
Okay, so would you be stating that in as a motion?
Yes.
And is there a second on that? That we make them both the same? Thank you, Jen. And all those in favor of making the change to make them the same? That's unanimous, the whole board. And it passes. Now let's go back and see, are there any other changes that anybody would like to make, amendments to this charter proposal? I don't see any hands, so it looks like we're ready to vote. And that is, as it was moved and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Oh, it's unanimous. Thank you. That also passes, which means that now that the groups can be looking for a meeting, that they can decide on a meeting time, and of course, the rules about that can be clarified with either Dr. Lutzi or Tori Hicks. They'll be able to help anybody that wants any knowledge about posting and help on that. Moving now to the consent agenda. And on the consent agenda, we have 4 items that are on that. And I need a motion to accept that. Ms. Allison, thank you. And I need a second on it. Thank you, Penny. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please raise your hands and signify. Unanimous. Moving on to the next page. Announcements and future meetings. Dr. Lutzi, would you like to bring us up to date on that?
Sure. Our next meeting is scheduled for October 20th. We have a couple of different reports that'll be shared that evening. One will be the report from Dr. LeDuc on the New Canaan High School program. This will be information around some of the initiatives that we've had in the last couple of years around expanding the AP access and program for students. She'll have some data around student performance. As you know, we don't have capped results to go through some of the testing report as we've done in the past. But there will be quite a bit of information just about the program itself and, again, sort of the steps we've taken the last couple of years and some vision for future steps that will be taken there. Mr. Cass will also be giving us a staff utilization and enrollment presentation, as we do each year. As you know, on October 1st, all the schools across Connecticut report their student enrollment, and that day is the snapshot. That's then used for the enrollment projections and information and all of the data that goes into the state reports. So Gary and his team have been crunching numbers ever since and pulling that all together, and so we'll have the enrollment report at that point. I've been able to schedule a workshop for December 8th with Jonathan Costa, where he'll spend some time with us to talk about schools of the future a little bit, some trends going on nationally and locally in Connecticut with schools and school systems. And I think that's well placed to be the week before we have our budget workshop. And we'll start talking about some of the proposals and things around our budget that following week. And we'll see how Nancy's feeling, but Frank is excited to come back on October 20th also to share with us the statement of accounts. So it'll be quite a busy meeting.
Terrific. Now, we're moving on to the topic comments from the public at the end of our meeting. There being no one getting up to make comments, I assume that there are no comments. At this point, we need a motion to adjourn to executive session in accordance with CGS 1206. May I have a motion for that, please? Thank you, Deanna. And a second, Sangeeta. All those in favor? That's unanimous. So moved. The meeting is adjourned to that session.